PvP isn't the only thing Blizzard has neglected over the past 20 years, because there is one part of the UI which has barely changed in over 2 decades. And as a result, players are probably doing less damage and making worse decisions in PvP. We wish we were joking, but after 20 years, nameplates have been completely neglected by Blizzard. This sucks, because nameplates are probably the most powerful part of every UI. Why? Because they're basically the Swiss Army knife of PvP. With good nameplates, you can not only do more damage and outplay your opponents, but you can keep your eyes directly on the action when doing so. No need to scan through your entire screen looking for tiny little icons while getting blasted by air horns. Nameplates can basically do everything for you, not only allowing you to make better decisions, but to avoid that dreaded tunnel vision which destroys your gameplay. Let's fix this. We know we say this a lot, but these days, damage is king. The reason Arthas got to sit on the Frozen Throne was actually because he was the #1 parsing DK of all time. Anyways, damage is king. And if you still don't believe us, the data is out there. Right now, you can go to WoW Arena logs and look at average DPS between all ratings. Up to Challenger, the highest average DPS is close to 400k. Jump up to Rival, we're nearly at 420. Nice. But then we get to Duelist and higher, and we're over 100k above where we started. We weren't lying. Doing more damage is the #1 thing you can do to gain rating. Now, let's think for a moment. Why are higher rated players consistently doing more damage? There are a lot of excuses someone could think of, like having better gear, but that really doesn't explain the consistent differences at each rating bracket. No, let's take a page out of Occam's razor for a second and admit one thing. Higher rated players do more damage because they are better at dealing damage. They know a few tricks that lower rated players simply ignore. And one of those tricks is actually super easy to learn, swapping on defensives. If there's one thing that will immediately nerf your DPS in every game, it's hitting a player who has a massive damage mitigation active. Just look at this rogue who is going to tunnel the mage from start to finish through an entire life cocoon. That's like attacking into bubble. And they even burn a gap closer in order to do 0 damage to the mage when there were juicy targets nearby. And this wasn't a one-off either, because in the very next round, they're going to train a warlock through the entire shield wall, even though the Ret Paladin was standing on the exact same pixel ready to get hit harder than a target dummy on a Tuesday. We don't blame this rogue for not swapping, because can you even notice them? Right now, can you even see what defensive the warlock has active? It's like trying to read hieroglyphics while you're getting bolted in the face. Luckily, you don't need a PhD in archaeology in order to solve this problem. And being able to recognize when to swap on defensives is not only easy, but it's one of the most efficient ways to actually win more games. Imagine you pop CDs and force dispersion from a Shadow Priest, and then immediately swap to someone else, burning the defensives too. You now have 2 viable targets that will be taking more damage all game. That is insane value. If you want to see how broken this is in real gameplay, watch as our mage forces bubble on this Ret Paladin, which is clearly displayed on his nameplate, and then immediately he swaps to the hunter, winding up forcing their wall within a few seconds. And right after that happens, he checks back to the paladin's plate, seeing that bubble is over without even needing to change targets. Now at this point, he wants to land a sheep, but there's one key problem. Blessing of Sacrifice is up, and he knows it's from the Holy Paladin since, you guessed it, it's right above their nameplate. That signals to our mage that all he needs to do is wait a few seconds and boom, poly secured and trinket forced. So in just a little over 30 seconds, our mage has forced bubble, survival of the fittest, and trinket by just reacting to 3 icons. By just using nameplates, you don't have to sit through all the pointless information on your screen. To set up your nameplates to show active defensives, you will need better blizz plates. Then you will need to add a whitelist of every major cooldown you want to track. Now, this is without a doubt the most time-consuming step in this entire process. And although filtering all of these abilities for every spec can take hours, it is absolutely worth doing. Fortunately though, if you're a skill cap subscriber, we've already done all this work for you, saving you countless hours. Just head over to the Skill Caps website using the link in the description below for a special discount, then select the War Within, navigate to the add-ons tab in the top right, enter your battle.net, and then hit confirm to generate your premium code. You'll then be able to paste this code into your Skill Caps add-on to import the Better Blizz Plates profile, which after a few clicks will set up your nameplates perfectly. Right out of the box, already pre-configured with everything already filtered and set up, so you can immediately get to gaming. And best of all, it works for every single spec. And for the rest of this video, we're going to show you what else you can do with our insanely powerful profile. Now, if there's one myth that makes us absolutely cringe, it's when players say CC doesn't matter, which a lot of mages who like to spam polymorph will suspiciously say. When they say CC doesn't matter, what they actually mean is that CC sometimes doesn't feel rewarding. But just ask any healer in the game and they will tell you how annoying it is to get chain CC'd in solo shuffle. It is one of those things that breaks your soul, and can even cause you to make some questionable life decisions. Anyways, chaining CC is a really big deal, but only if you don't leave any gaps. Because you know as well as I do that in 1 millisecond a Holy Paladin can save someone from the brink of death with a lay on hands. If you can consistently leave 0 gaps in your CC and taking the additional step of chaining off your partners, you will notice a difference. But can you guess why this is so insanely hard to do these days? Because once again, the Blizzard UI makes it an impossible task to even recognize when a healer is in CC, let alone land perfect chains. With a proper nameplate setup, you can make those chains seamless, leaving 0 gaps, which actually makes CC feel like it truly matters. But do you know what's the icing on the cake? Nameplates are the #1 way to avoid tunnel vision. We like to say that your UI is like the inside of a car, but instead of mirrors, you have Gladius and party frames. And instead of your dashboard, you have your action bars. But here's what happens if you tunnel vision your rearview mirrors while driving. Yeah, definitely not ideal. Nameplates are like keeping your eye on the road in front of you. You can gather so much useful information without needing to look anywhere else. But at this point, you might be asking, why do default nameplates suck so bad? Well, it is Blizzard after all. But let's journey back in time to when we first started playing WoW. For me, that was all the way back in vanilla, where I played a dwarf hunter named Pablo Diablo, and I had a boar named Borito. Clever, I know. Back in the day, nameplates weren't even enabled by default. But wait a second. They're not even enabled by default these days either. You're telling me that after 20 years, Blizzard hasn't managed to improve or enable one of the most important gameplay features of all time? Small indie company problems, I guess. Okay, maybe there have been a few improvements, like the fact that these days you can track your debuffs. Most players know by now that keeping up dots is super important, but they don't realize how important. Dots do most of the heavy lifting for any class that has them. For instance, I play Balanced Druid from time to time. My Cyclones are questionable, but my damage is always insanely high because I do one thing super well: keep up dots. Keeping up with basic dot maintenance is not only how many classes deal maximum damage, but it's even how they secure kills. But there's one huge problem. If you use default nameplates, you're seeing information you don't even need to track, like poisons, which are applied automatically. And because there is all this clutter, our rogue doesn't even notice his improved Gear Up bleed fall off in the middle of Deathmark. We weren't lying when we said Blizzard nameplates make players make bad decisions. And it's not like you can simply look at the target frame either. This thing is a complete mess, filled with useless information that nobody has time to decipher. So what's the solution? It's to be selective on what exactly is tracked, using better Blizz plates to filter out all the debuffs that don't matter. That way, it becomes insanely easy to isolate your most important debuffs, ensuring you can maximize damage all the time. If you want to set this up for yourself, you'll need to create whitelists of debuffs for every spec you play, which as we mentioned can take a few hours, but is available instantly to Skullcap members with the click of a button. And as a reminder, the Skullcapped add-on package is only one of many features included in your subscription. We've got hundreds of videos including class courses, role tips, positioning guides, and a brand new course that teaches you how to counter every class in the game. We focus on teaching WoW from your perspective, with our ultimate goal of making sure you improve. Best of all, everything we offer is backed up by a rank up guarantee. If you don't gain at least 400 rating while using our service, you'll get a full refund, no questions asked. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below and start your journey today.